This is Big City Drinks. I'm Ace, and this is Alex.
Hey,
What do we have here?
well, today we're going with the Buffalo Rum.
All
Buffalo
right.
Trace, that is. We have 4 bottles here, and we'll kind of explain a little bit before we'll show you what we're drinking today. We have the Benchmark 8. It's old brand 8, not 8 as in age state, so this is more of a cheap mixer. On the lower end of the Buffalo Trace lineup, on the lower end, so it's probably like this in ancient age. So these are something you get. It's relatively cheap if you want something just because it's Buffalo Trace, but you want a cheap mixer. You can go with this. It's not a big problem. This one is actually kind of more of a special bottle here. This is Eagle Rare Single Barrel Store Pack. So I was able to find this on one of our whiskey hauls. I went to one of the stores that I normally like just kind of hunt at, and they had a store pick that was a single barrel. So we're gonna do a future video for this one, and we're gonna try to pair this one with regular Eagle Rare bourbon. So it's gonna be fun to see because this is a 10-year single barrel, and the other Eagle Rare is a blended single barrel. Blended 10-year bottle. So we're gonna try to see if we could, maybe get some different notes, see what the difference is between the single barrel and the regular barrel, and we'll definitely enjoy that. This one over here, as you can see, it's definitely being enjoyed and tasted, and this one over here is a little bit more of a crazy bottle because we're actually going to try to taste this one today. This is a Weller Special Reserve. Depending on where you live in the country, this is damn near impossible to get. You probably have to go with your firstborn child at some places. But, luckily, we were able to get a decent second market on this. Some states I've seen, they have people posting that it's at the store for like regular price, which is somewhere around like $30, $24, but it's allocated almost everywhere else in the country. So if you're lucky to find one, get one just to have a taste. Would I recommend paying the exorbitant amount for it? No. There's some places I've seen this for $400, and I kid you not, $300, $400. I'm telling you, it's a no.
You've actually seen this bottle for how much high price?
Yeah, I think the most I've physically seen is $300. The first thing I do is walk away. There's no way. Don't ever pay $300 for this. If you do, you're freaking crazy, or you got money to burn. Because we'll talk about this as we're tasting it, and you're gonna see what we can figure out from this. But it's definitely not something you want to pay the secondary market rate for.
Gotcha.
It's a hard bottle to find, but it's good. And then we have the good old classic staple of Buffalo Trace. This is the staple of the line. This is everywhere. Some places I think it might be allocated. I'm not 100% sure, but it's easy to find. Depends on the market. I believe somewhere probably 25, $30, 40, 45 on the high end in certain states. But you normally find this. If you're not finding this in your state, then it's probably allocated possible to find. But you can normally try to find this. I'm not saying it's easy like the other stuff that we've shown you in the previous videos. This will take its time, but you can probably get it, and you can get it at a cheap price.
And it has a lot of history, obviously, with all these bottles we're showing. We're not even half. There's still another section of the Buffalo Trace line that we don't even have. It's so expensive as well.
Buffalo Trace is as good as a distillery it is. It's also one of the craziest when it comes to allocation. Their line is almost impossible to get everything from it because you have things like the Pappies, which are like what they call in the bourbon industry as a unicorn. So it'll be hard to find. You have to win it in a lottery or some some sort of thing for you to win a bottle or a selection. Then you have the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which is the really big boy bottles. You get William LaRue Weller. You have Thomas Henry Sazerac,
Yeah.
George T. Stagg,
Oh, yeah.
and you got like the Eagle Rare 17. Like those are the hard to find bourbons in the country.
The cream of the crop, as they say.
Yeah, at that point it is the cream of the crop. It's next to the Pappies and them. It's insane. Then you also have Stagg Jr. and McKenna. Like the Buffalo Trace line is great because it has a variation. Problem with Buffalo Trace, it's also allocated. Buffalo Trace is one of the oldest distilleries in the country. It's been around since like 1773, I believe. 1770s. I know it's before America. They were already making bourbon, and that's probably one of the great things about it. And this one, at least from what I understand, this is a wheated bourbon, so it falls more in line of the mash bill that the Pappies are. So
Smoother.
yeah, it has its own thing because it's wheated, but this will be almost like a baby Pappy almost.
What I've heard,
Entry Pappies.
the name that I've heard going around for the Weller was that this special reserve is called the poor man's Pappy. When I heard that, I was like, okay, I'll go for it then.
Probably.
just the name alone is
At this point, it could be because if I've seen this for 300, you damn sure know that I've seen a Pappy going for like 3,000 or more. And we're not even talking. I don't think it wasn't even a Pappy 23. It was probably like a Pappy 10. It was like the lady tells me like 3,000. I like exited and I'm like, okay, I don't need to come back here for a while because maybe if I'm looking for something on the regular, but not anything special.
All right, Alex. So which one are we gonna have first?
We're gonna work on the Buffalo Trace. Let me just take this down.
Okay. You don't mind? My glass.
Top you off over here.
The color. I always usually mention the color, but what do you think about the color in the Buffalo Trace?
It's a nice little dark brown to it. It's light brown actually, but it's really good. Let's see. Here you go, sir.
Thank you very much. Let's go with the smell.
It smells a lot like vanilla. I'll tell you that much.
I'm getting. It's very light, very fruity. Vanilla, definitely there.
Get some honey on it actually. Slight hint of honey.
Caramel.
Small. I get more vanilla and honey than caramel. Like you get overpowering vanilla, a little bit less honey, and then you get a nice faint smell of caramel. But
you know when you cut an orange, just not the actual orange, but just the peel of it.
Oh yeah, like a rind, like I think when you get like an old fashioned, when they kind of like rim the rind of the orange on the glass.
The glass, yep.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I can get a little bit of that orange on it. Yeah, it has that nice little citrusy.
Yeah.
It's like so you get the vanilla, you get a little bit of everything, but it has a nice little citrusy smell to it. It's really good. Cheers. Oh yeah, get that. The vanilla and the honey.
Is the vanilla there?
Vanilla and the honey is definitely there. Something else I'm trying to figure out, but
can I hit you up with a little brown sugar?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a brown sugar on it, but definitely honey and vanilla. And wow, it's a nice warmth to it. I'll tell you that much. It I can see why this is the staple of bourbon. Like everybody knows Buffalo Trace. It's everybody talks about it. It's one of those things where it's like it's as old as America at this point because it was making bourbon since before America, and it's made bourbon through everything, even during Prohibition.
Prohibition.
I think even though through Prohibition, I think it was like 8 companies, and it was maybe like 5 to 8 companies. I'm pretty sure Buffalo Trace was one of them, and they've been making phenomenal stuff. Actually, yeah, I think if I remember correctly, they got a medicinal bourbon license during Prohibition. So if I remember correctly, they were legally not allowed to sell you bourbon, but if you had a prescription for bourbon because medicinal purposes, you were allowed to get a nice little.
Who else did that? Old Forester did that?
Old Forester, I think they also had a license, but I remember them making through Prohibition as well. There's a couple other companies I just don't remember off the top of my head, but I know Buffalo Trace and Old Forester, which is Brown-Forman, were definitely making bourbon during Prohibition. But yeah, this is definitely a staple. This is it hits almost every note of what you would expect from a bourbon. And that's probably why it gained so much praise.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It's a good thing, especially like if people are like if you're having guests over, you're trying to, introduce people into it. And you're like, hey, listen, this is like the staple. But then you got to be very careful when introducing them because then they'll be like, yo, I want to try the next best thing, and then it'll be like the Eagle Rare, and then you're never finding an Eagle Rare. Because if you think Buffalo Trace is hard to find, Eagle Rare is close to impossible. And then the further up you go, the further you're never going to see any of these bottles.
Many years ago, if I remember, we weren't really doing bourbon as much. But when we first started, it was Buffalo Trace. I never knew about this company before. I didn't know anything about it. And we tasted it. And we're like, oh, wow. It's well balanced. For an introduction for bourbon to show somebody, like, somebody who's not into it, this will be a perfect introduction of what the bourbon world is and what the craze has been happening since the last, 15, 20 years that's been hot. Like
it's probably like crazy. The last 10 years. The last 10, 15 years. Yeah, definitely. This has definitely been
the forefront.
To me, it was definitely my starter bourbon. Like, I remember a good friend was like, hey, you like whiskey, you like different things. So you should try Buffalo Trace. Gave me a sip and been hooked since on the Trace. I used to get it a lot more available. Like, paid a little bit like regular price, here and there. It goes up because we live in the city.
Yeah.
But I used to normally get it. Now it's a little bit harder to get, or if it's not harder to get, it is way more expensive than it was before.
I think we got this one for under 40. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, $36.
Yeah.
If you're able to get it under $40, I think you're good. If you see it for over that, then you're definitely paying over.
Yeah, I know normally it's probably somewhere between 25, 35 in MSRP.
Yeah.
You're paying on 40, 45. Yeah, 40. If you get it for 40, it's probably the best deal you're really getting outside, at least in a bigger market. You're paying over 40. Oh, that's rough. I can see people paying for a lot more on store pick. Those are store pick differences. There would be like a Buffalo Trace single barrel or some type of special Buffalo Trace. But yeah, you shouldn't be paying more than 40 for this. If you are, that's a little rough. I technically wouldn't, but it's great. It's personally one of my favorites.
How was your finish? I'm getting a lot of rye, spice. I'm gonna throw in some oak.
I had an oak. got like a little fruity.
You got some fruit?
Yeah, like a little weird fruity tinge. I don't know exactly what it is. I'll look 'em. I can't tell you what the fruit is.
Maybe apple, orange.
I don't know. It's weird. Like I got a nice little orange, like not really orange, but like I got a fruity thing to it, and then I was like, it kind of went away.
I definitely the spice. It's after the finish.
Yeah.
It goes down not as warm as the other ones, as the ones we reviewed before. That it goes down really, really warm, really kind of hot. But this one, not. I don't feel it, but the spice is there.
Yeah, I think you get a good spice for this, and that's what I'm getting at the end. It's a nice little spice, but overall it's a nice it covers you, man. That's what you want from bourbon. You get a nice spice, you get a nice little finish. Feel all warm and gooey. That's all that bourbon is supposed to do for you.
Would you recommend the Buffalo Trace?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you can get a hold of Buffalo Trace, again under 40, go ahead, man. If you haven't had it before, trust me, it's something you'll enjoy. Like I'm not gonna tell you to get like other stuff. Like I'm not gonna tell you here go get a Pappy because I'm not. I'm there's it's almost close to impossible for me to hunt down a Pappy. But you can experiment with this. You can go with the Eagle Rare, which would probably be the two that are easier to get from the rest of the lineup. Because trust me, I've struggled. I've come down to 2 more bottles from the Buffalo Trace line that were hard for me to get, which was a McKenna 10 and a Stag Junior, and those I had to really hunt for. One of those actually was out of state, and I ended up hunting it down.
You have a Stag Junior, I believe.
Yeah, I found the Stag Junior, which is it's a nice little older batch. I'll show it to you guys on a future video.
Lucky you.
But yeah, that one was a little bit hard to find, and the McKenna 10, which is the second 10-year-old from the like almost like the Eagle Rare, and that one was close to impossible. Like if I tell you, I searched a bunch of online, like other stores online, like searching through the inventory for me to find the bottle, and for me to be like, okay, I'm 10 minutes driving. If I can get there before anybody else gets it, and luckily I did. But again, I drove up. I was out of town. I was like 3-4 states over, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot, and then I found one, and I paid MSRP for it, so that's perfect.
Okay. All right, Alex. So we finished with the Buffalo Trace, and let's do the Weller. Now I gotta tell you, I absolutely, if you haven't figured out by the side of the bottle, look how much I've been hitting that.
Work on this.
I'm putting a little work on it. The Weller Special Reserve is one of my favorites. I absolutely love this bottle. I bought right I got a backup in the back just in case.
It's like a full backup over
And if you scare me and tell me there's no more, I'm running to buy another one. What can you tell me about the Weller Special Reserve?
This bottle is, you hear a lot about this. This is all over the whiskey tube. You're gonna hear, oh, it's this, it's that. It's a wheated bourbon, so it's a little bit of a different style.
Thank you very much.
There you go. And so you're always gonna get a little different style on a wheated bourbon than you can from regular ones. But again, in the whiskey boom, bourbon boom that we've been having,
yep,
these things are impossible to find. You're lucky to find them, and when you do, you appreciate and you hold on to dear life for them. Because, again, impossible in some places. In other states, this thing flows like water. I've seen pictures of a freaking case where like they just have like a whole display case of like 50, 60 of these. Yet when I go to a liquor store, they're like, I only got one. And I'm like, what can I tell you here? Like,
I think we went hunting, and in one of our hunts, we went to different boroughs here in New York. We went to Brooklyn, we went to Queens, the city. But then when we got to Brooklyn, it was the closest. That was like a dead end. And I told you, Alex, go to this place, go to that place, and you spotted it, and
Yeah.
you came back and you told me a price. What was it? $300?
yeah, I saw this for $300.
I was like, Alex, where did you go? What the hell are you talking about?
As soon as I walked in and I saw this with a sign on it that said $300 behind the counter, I turned around and walked out the door. I was like, I cannot look at anything else. If you have this price of $300 in your store, and you're not like one of those allocated, like one of those specific state-run liquor stores, and this is $300 at your store, I'm walking away because you're clearly trying to rob me at gunpoint.
I wanted to say this when it comes to these bourbons. What you call it? The culture behind bourbons right now is the fact that we're able to get a couple of rare ones and ones that are not that rare and common and everything like that. But here in New York, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little bit embarrassed. The fact that we're pricing them at a ridiculous price. How is it that the culture will be able to, thrive? It's okay. How are we able to thrive in this culture of bourbon? If you're pricing them at a ridiculous price, it should never be that price. If it's the MSRP, it's around what? $30, maybe less.
I think the MSRP for this one, if I'm correct, is $23.
Oh my god! And then we're
for someone to charge $300
and then
on a
seeing
$23
$300.
Yeah,
I do not. This is the only time I will ever say this, but do never buy this bottle for that amount of price. You're getting robbed, and you're
supporting the culture of getting robbed. Because if you're willing to pay $300, then the owner of this place is like, oh, I can get anybody to pay $300.
This is the reason why we got into this this whole video thing. This is the only reason. It's actually specifically because of the weather. I wanted to make these videos to make sure that we educate you guys and let you know what tastes good, what doesn't taste as good, and promoting here and there. It doesn't matter. I love the whole culture, but never overpay. It especially at $300 for this Weller Special Reserve. It's an amazing bottle, but you never pay. And
I think, look, when it comes to things in the city, like every state, every city has its own little things. So you're always gonna find different prices, and some places are a little bit more dry than others. But look, if you can't find something like this, I'm pretty sure there's another bottle somewhere within the proper price range that you'll love. Things like Weller, I've expanded my tasting for other newer bourbons and whiskeys. I started drinking a couple of local stuff. We don't have it here because Ace doesn't have it. So, like, one of the things I normally drink is like New York State bourbon, which is Taconic. I like some of their stuff, and even if you have Redwood Empire, which is a little more crafty. Like, at the end of the day, don't pay $300. Try one of the craft ones. Try one of your local stuff. Sometimes, they may not be as great, but you probably enjoy them at the end of the day more than you would paying for this $23 bottle at $300.
And on that note, what is your smell on this? I smell everything but good on this. I absolutely love Weller Special Reserve. I'm getting vanilla. I'm getting caramel. I'm getting a little bit of honey. And
definitely honey.
Yeah?
Definitely vanilla.
One of the things I always noticed, and until you told me, was that floral. A little bit of the floral.
Yeah, it feels almost like if you're in a kind of like a field, like a wildflower field.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that it's in this. I normally get it on a weeded. No, I normally get it on a rye actually.
And remember, this is weeded, so
Like one of my favorite whiskeys, which I think we'll probably do a review in the future, is the Yippee Ki that was discontinued from High West.
yeah.
And I tell you, one of the reasons why it's my favorite is as soon as you crack it open, you have this floor like you're in a field of flowers, and this has a hint. Like I get the vanilla, but then I'm like, it's just flowery. It's like you feel like you're outdoors. And I think that's probably what makes this bourbon in particular fun to drink. It's like, yeah, I can see myself outdoors. Even if I'm indoors and I'm drinking, I can be like, I'm indoors, but I feel like I'm outside. And I think that's cool.
I absolutely love it.
It's a nice coat. I like it. It covers my mouth really good. Like you get a nice little coat
A
of
little
it.
spice, a little rye. Even though it's weeded, but look at that.
Yeah, you get a little nice wheat to it, but it's like a wheat, and then you get a rye for it. You get a wheat rye, I guess.
Yeah.
Type of.
You don't get any spice
Yeah, you get a nice little towards the end.
towards the end.
Towards the end, I'm getting a little spice as it's going through, and
No honey?
no, I'm getting a weird like on the finish. I'm getting like a weird a different taste. Like once I can't pinpoint it right now, but as soon as I on the finish, like as it's coming down, I'm like I got like a nice little hint of something.
On the finish, we have oak, honey, and caramel.
It's probably it might be the oak that I'm getting at the end, but
It's not too spicy, not overpowering.
no, that's what I'm saying. That's one of the greatest things about this.
Yeah.
At 90 proof, if this was any other bottle and not Buffalo Trace, this is the bottle to get. Like that's one of the things. Because it's Buffalo Trace, it's going to drive the price up. Because it's Weller is driving the price up. But at 90 proof, this thing's amazing to drink.
Remember, there's also the Weller 12 year. There's the Weller Antique 107.
107, you have Weller Special Reserve, you have Weller Antique 107, you have Weller 12 year, and then you have the Weller CYPB.
Yes.
Which I believe, if anything, if you see a CYPB, I don't know where you live because I've never seen one in real life.
I've only seen one, and they were like, stop looking at it because I was staring there for a long time at a liquor store.
I've never seen a CYPB in real life. I've only seen pictures of it, and that tells you how much the Weller line is.
Especially here in the city.
Like other states, like controlled states, these things are lottery. You have to like enter lotteries to get some of these in certain places that are run by the states. So you can imagine what the secondary market for Wellers, any type of Weller, from this, which I believe is the lowest Weller that they have.
It is.
To the William LaRue Weller from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which normally goes for a higher price. If Brooklyn's putting this at $300, that William LaRue Weller is probably at $3,000 in that place. Because again, this is a $23 bottle. The Buffalo Antique Collection usually runs around MSRP somewhere around $100, $150.
When we talked about this being overpriced and everything, but what is an okay price? A price that's reasonable? I would think, look, if you can find this for about $60 to $70, I think that's more than reasonable. Here in New York, remember the tax here is higher. everything in New York is always higher when it comes to that. So I'm willing to actually, give you a break with that. The MSRP is under $20. What was it? 20 something? 23.
The
Oh my
MSRP
God.
is like 23, 24. So
Jesus,
let's even go at $25.
Okay.
If you're paying 50, $60,
I think at 60,
At 60
can we shake hands at 60?
I think $60. If you pay more than $60, you're definitely.
It's just even look.
It's a little bit.
We
it's
can
a little
even
bit-
go to 70. We could argue, but 70 is okay. But over $100, don't do it. Just don't do it, because you're being dripped off, and I would never want that as part of the culture for you to, tell somebody, oh, I bought a Weller, and then how much did you buy it for? Over $100, and they'll be like,
Well, look,
wow,
I'm
that's
not-
seriously.
I'm not one to tell you what to do with your money, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much. You definitely, if you feel like, oh, I need to have this and I want this, then I'm not gonna tell you not to get it. But if you're on the fence, or you're like, maybe I could do better, maybe if you're on the fence of buying this bottle and it's above 60, I probably wouldn't do it. If you can get it under 60, in certain states, depending on where you live, because like I said, in New York City, if you get it under 60, you're probably getting a good deal. If you're paying over, you're not. And look, for all I know, $100 is normal in I don't know what state. Pick a state. California,
California, yeah.
California, Idaho, Seattle,
Florida.
like California, Seattle, Washington.
No,
Yeah,
no one goes there.
Maybe Seattle.
No one goes to
stuff like
Washington.
that. But Idaho, Seattle, like Idaho, Washington, California, like you never know. Maybe they've never, they don't get that much Buffalo Trace. I don't know. I don't live in those states. But maybe this doesn't come around there, so it'll probably be like 100, and then that's up to you. But like I said, it's at your discretion to get this. Is it great? I think it is. Is it worth overpaying? I don't think so. If you're really if you really want something at this price point, and you're willing to overpay, that's on you. But like I said,
All right.
if it's over what you need, try something different. There is enough bourbon in the country for you to find something that you like, and something that will not want to make you miss this.
Now let's bring back the Buffalo Trace. We're in the same family almost, but what would your comparison now on the Buffalo Trace and the Weller Special Reserve? They go head to head. This is the reason why I chose these two bottles for you.
Well, I think this is again both entries in the Buffalo Trace. This is entry to bourbon. This is entry to wheated bourbon. I think this is more readily. This is more available. This is harder to find, and just kind of on that, I would always go to Buffalo Trace, because like you have a bottle here that you have to like make sure it's there, and I'm pretty sure as soon as this is gone and that's open, you're finding another bottle.
I am
to fill that bottle.
correct.
This, I can hang out at a party, bring it to some friend's house, or do whatever, and kill it. And I'm pretty sure I can find another one within the next week or two before I can find another one of these. So just on that purpose alone, I would always say Buffalo Trace over Weller. But if you live in like, I don't know, I think it's Ohio, Kentucky, wherever you find these readily available, go for it. Like I said, I would always, flavor wise, I think I'd kind of choose this just because it's different from the normal bourbons that I drink. Just the fact that it's wheated, it's a little bit different, has a little different flavor profile. It just hits you different. This is a good starter. This is kind of like the gold standard of what bourbon is. But if I have to pick over the two, just from based on where I live, it's always going to be Buffalo Trace over Weller.
Wow.
But if I live in a state where this is $23? I don't even think I'm looking at this bottle again. If I can buy this every week at $23, I think this is what I'm buying for $23. But remember this?
All right. All right, so this was an interesting video. It almost sounded like a rant, but it needed to be said. I really feel passionate about the Weller and the Buffalo Trace. I want to thank everybody, and wanted everybody to please like, comment, and subscribe on Instagram,
Big City Drinks 1,
on Twitter,
Big City Drinks,
and on YouTube.
Big City Drinks.
I also want to throw out a shout out to one of our friends who's been helping us ever since we started this, Familia Pools.
Oh yeah, friend of the show, Familia Pools. That guy is an amazing dude. He's always cool. He's always showing us some real great love with some of the whiskeys. He's introduced us to a couple of whiskeys that we'll definitely do some reviews later on in future episodes. But definitely check him out if you ever need any type of pool service in the tri-state area, maybe Connecticut. Definitely check him out. We'll try to put a link on him, Familia Pools. Always be on the lookout. That guy's a friend of the show.
Thank you very much, everybody,
Have a good
and
one.
take care.